It is very sad to see how Israel, modern Israel I should say, have completely lost their Israeli identity. What you think of Israel today has nothing to do with Israel. Because by the very definition of who Israel is, well, what does the name actually mean? You always have to go back to the source, to the origin. Israel, Isra, El, Elohim, is the very essence of who Israel is. And what was he doing? He was shepherding his flock, tending to the soil, working the fields. His sons were all shepherds. The Lord made man in his image to tend to the garden and care for the animals, agriculture and shepherding. Tend to the creatures that are under our care and care for the soil which provides food and shelter and everything else for our care. Cain and Hevel, his brother, were doing exactly that. And Yaakov, Yitzchak, and Abraham were doing exactly that. That is their identity. The sons of Yaakov, called the sons of Israel, were doing exactly that. And throughout the early generations, they were doing exactly that. David was not some startup high-tech guy. He was not some businessman. He was a shepherd boy. And he was called to shepherd the flock of the Lord, often referred to as Israel, my sheep. Elisha, the prophet, was a shepherd. Amos was a shepherd. Many of the other prophets were shepherds and people who walked the land, because that is who Israel is. By our very definition, we are the servant of the Lord, to do what Adam was meant to do: care for the land, care for the animals, care for each other. The Lord said, I myself will shepherd my sheep. Don't think you're so high and mighty that you are better than sheep. But modern Israel has nothing that resembles the original design. Because whereas the refoundation of the land, 1947, 1948, they did exactly that. They came in and started growing crops and caring for the animals, the farmland and everything else. They did that. You can go online now and do your research. Look at Israel in the 1940s, 1950s, up to the 1970s, really. The focus was on the land. And Israel produced such phenomenal crops and harvests in such great abundance. And the people were working the land before machines. You had people, you had like 50, 60 men working a field. They were working it together, just like in the good old days. You read in the book of Ruth, Boaz and his men and the women that came after to glean the fields. That was their life. And they were happy. They worked. They had their sweat. They had their time in the field. They came home. They had their food. They had their family time. They were close together. The family was united. They were living a very content life. They didn't have all the stress and anxiety and depression of the modern day. And again, coming back to the 1940s and 50s, the same thing. They were working the fields, family was staying together, boys working with their father in the field, the way it was meant to be, the family unit. How do you learn? By apprenticeship. You go with your father to see him work, and you learn from him. He is your mentor, he is your teacher. Fathers, raise up your children in the way they should go. You live your life with your father, he is your example. But as Israel gotten more and more westernized by this pagan, wicked culture of modern society, they started getting a little too high and mighty for their own good. Well, walk in the land, that's beneath us. We're better than just walk in the land. So what they did is quite evil, really, and really destructive for their own good, because they could have just kept on doing what they were doing and trust in the Lord, but instead they chose to be the Lord. So they said, well, instead of us just tending to the soil, living a very simple life, being happy, stress-free, and trusting in God to provide and protect us, no. We need technology. We need to chase money. We need to be a high and mighty capitalist nation. So all of these men and women forsook their God-given duties, went to chase after futile jobs that pay a lot of man-made currency but produce no food. And they hired foreign workers to do the job that they themselves were designed to do. The Thai people, the Hindu people, the Arabs, all kinds of foreign workers to work in the fields in Israel. As you saw in October 7, many of the hostages were Thai and Filipino and Hindu. They were working out in the fields because Israelis don't want to work in the fields. They'd rather be in the air conditioner in some corporate office with 40 stories high in a glass building, sitting in a cubicle, pressing keys on a keyboard, sitting in front of a screen all day long. And what did that do for you? So you're making more digitized money. So you have a bigger concrete space, a bigger cave, and a bigger couch, and a bigger car, and a bigger fridge. But what have you gained? I'll tell you what you've gained. Depression, anxiety, fear, all kinds of bad things. You've lost your humanity. I remember growing up, looking at those Moroccan families that were poor, they didn't have much, and yet they were so happy and close together. Everybody lived with their grandma. The grandma was living with the parents and the parents with the children, and there were one happy family, 7, 8 people living in one small house. They had love, they had laughter, they had joy. The Ashkenazi family, you have a big house with 1 or 2 people living in it, and there's nothing, it's dead. There's no love, there's no laughter, there's no communication, there's no intimacy, there's no relations. And that was 20-something years ago. Today, there's nothing. There is no family. Everybody's scattered all over the place. You don't even talk, you don't meet. You have text and selfies and pictures and social media. This little electronic device that you cannot eat and it cannot do anything for you except destroy you, take away your time, ruin your eyes and your brain, all of those waves going through the air, Oh, sure, you might say they're harmless, but are they really? We have no idea what it's doing to our bodies. All of those frequencies constantly bombarding our cells. People did not have all of these different kinds of cancers and genetic mutations 80 years ago. That was very rare. Maybe melanoma, which comes from too much sun exposure, but all of these other things, all of this autism and Down syndrome, and there are so many diseases. You have to ask yourself, why are they multiplying like crazy? It has to be something that we're doing. Whether it is the very fact that we're playing God with our food. See, it's not enough to just grow food. We have to manipulate it. Put our technology into it. Genetically splice and cut and trim and prune and pluck and modify. Because man is God. So we can change our foods. You're killing yourselves. Men do not even know how to communicate anymore. Everybody's stressed out. The anxiety and depression is at an all-time high. Suicide. Never in the history of mankind have we had such a high rate of suicide, particularly among teenagers and young adults. People who see the world for what it is and they just don't want to be a part of it. They see no hope because they've never been taught the love of God. They've never been shown the love of God. Because their parents forsook God and do not manifest His love in their lives. All these young atheists, they all are the same. If you look at them, you can just look at them and see that they have no love. All of them look so unloved. Of course they're going to be atheists because they cannot imagine a loving father after the father that raised them up. A father that was probably more consumed with his iPhone and his tablets and his sports team and his beer and his alcohol and his strip clubs and his whatever it is. There's so much that occupies your mind except the only thing that matters. To love God and love your family. Love your fellow man. So have we really advanced? Have we really evolved? Everything that God gave us was for a reason, for a good purpose, to give us a future, not to harm us. The Lord is not holding us back. He gave us a simple life because simple is life. Go out in the vineyards, tend to the crops, tend to the sheep, go home, sit down with your friends, your family, cook a meal together, relax, enjoy yourselves. Have a good night's sleep after all the labor that you've done throughout the day, and then for one day a week on the seventh, rest from all your labor. Enjoy the presence of your Maker in holiness. Forget the troubles of this world. And then the next week, go at it again. Slow, simple. Slow your life down to a walk. Live your life full measure. But now all of this fast, everything's instant. The Wi-Fi is getting faster. Fiber optic, microwave, Teslas, 0 to 60 in 2 seconds, jets and boats. Everything's so fast. You think you're doing more, but you're really doing less. You're not designed to gulp all that food. It's like you can eat a couple slices of bread and be content if you just take your time. But instead of a couple slices, you're trying to eat 5 different loaves in 2 minutes. Oh, I want to eat this and this and that. And you treat life as an all-you-can-eat Vegas buffet. And by the time you're done, you have such a stomach ache. And you're sick. And you got all kind of diseases because you've consumed more than you can handle. You bit off more than you can chew. And you are destroying yourselves. You have no peace because you've put too much on yourself. You're trying to do too much. All of this bucket list godlessness. What is that nonsense bucket list? Get married, raise your children, love the Lord. That's it. What else is there to do? Is that not enough? You're not supposed to get rich. That's the lie. Why are you trying to get rich for? Is it not enough to have food to sustain your body, to have clothing to cover your body, to have a roof over your head? Why do you need so much? Stay close with your family. Why do you need to have another mansion? 5 hours, 20 hours away, in a different state, a different country. I want to have a summer home and a winter home, and I go skiing 3 times a year, and a boat, and a yacht, and a private jet, and a golf club. Why do you need all of that nonsense? None of it is going to make you happy. None of it is going to give you peace. It's only going to stress you out. The more moving parts you have in something, the more complicated it is, the more prone it is to fall apart. The simple things don't break. It's all of those fancy cars that keep breaking. All of this fancy new technology. The fancier it is, the quicker it is to break down. What's wrong with having a couple of oxen treading down, plowing your field? The blacksmith put together the plow, the oxen, somebody's caring for the oxen, they multiply themselves, You don't have to keep replacing them. Like you do with a tractor, now you have to have the gasoline. Well, that's a whole industry all to itself. But it's faster. Why do you need to be faster? How much food do you need? See, you're trying to replace men with technology. It doesn't work. Those 50, 60 men I've said earlier, now you got one man with a tractor doing the same field. So now this other 59 men, they don't have a job. So now they got to do something else for a living. And now that's going to mess up the entire economy because it's no longer based on simply having food and resources. Now you have a national currency, a digitized currency without any practical value. So your economy is based on nothing. It's just a puff of air. So now the food, that price gets decreased. So now you can't afford to pay people. And it is a snowball effect. It is consuming and destroying your lives every day. In Israel, the agriculture now is at the brink of utter collapse. Farmers are going bankrupt. It's not even profitable for them to gather the harvest. You see trees with fruit, nobody's picking it up. They just leave it to rot. It costs them more to get it than they would profit by selling it, so they don't do anything. And we see it all the time. Last year I saw a whole field of watermelon and trees with pomegranates and persimmons and all kinds of fruits that you would say, why is nobody picking it? It just stays there on the trees. Because we've destroyed our economy. Because everybody wants to get rich. But rich is not food. And soon enough, mark my words, this whole bubble is going to burst because it's unsustainable. Because technology is not food. You cannot put it in your belly. Sure, now you start having synthetic foods, but that thing is only killing you. There's no nutrients. All of this hydroglyphic food, whatever, growing it in water without soil. Yeah, it has nothing, which is why you have to constantly gorge yourself on supplements and take all of these vitamins and minerals and pills. Young men taking 3, 4, 5, 6 pills a day. Why? Don't you think that is a little crazy and unnatural? Abraham didn't have to do that. He just ate whatever he had, and it wasn't much. He wasn't diversifying his meal with all kinds of colors and stuff. He would just eating the same thing every day. They didn't have all of these fancy oriental cuisines. For thousands of years, people ate local food, and they were fine. Growing their own crops, eating their own crops. Everything was fresh, homegrown, no GMOs, and it had all the nutrients that they needed. But now everything is supply chain. By the time you get your food, it's been like days to weeks from the point of harvest. It's already lost 80% of its nutritional value. So by the time you eat it, you get practically nothing out of it. Which is why now you have to spend all of that money on artificial supplements. Don't you see how the system has utterly destroyed you? Israel have completely forsook their identity. They chose to do this because they want to do this. Talk to people today. You want to be a farmer? No. I want to be in high tech. I want to have a startup. I want to start my own corporation. I want to do an exit and sell my company for hundreds of millions of dollars. That's the Israeli dream. See, everybody talk about the American dream, but what is the Israeli dream? To have a startup. That's why they call us Startup Nation. But that's not the real Israeli dream, because the real Israeli dream is the dream that Yaakov had when he was in Beth El and he saw the ladder reaching up to heaven with angels going up and down. That is the Israeli dream, to be a servant of God. To mediate between the Lord Most High and His creation. That is our job. A Kohen is a messenger of the Lord, of Adonai. Israel is supposed to be the Kohanim. But you have forsaken your duty. And you're going to be judged because you have a job to do and you have not done it. You refuse to do it. And God is just. And that is a scary thought, because He will give us according to what our deeds deserve. And what do we deserve if we forsake our duties? You figure that one out for yourself. So what do we do now? Obviously, we're so domesticated, we can't go back to the fields. I don't know the first thing about agriculture. But here's what I do know. What I do know is that I better start writing Torah on my heart by the hand of the Holy Spirit. Start drawing my heart and my soul nearer and nearer to the Lord. Waiting for His return, where He Himself will fix it. But until then, you better fix your heart, fix your mind. Stop engaging in popular culture and all of its appendices. Start pursuing righteousness, justice. Walk humbly with the Lord, your God, your Maker, your Heavenly Father. Get to know His ways. Put Him first. Realize everything else does not matter. It does not matter. All of the useless stuff of this world, it does not matter. It's going to vanish so quickly, like a whirlwind. Only the ways of God will remain. Only righteousness will prevail. So seek His word. Dedicate every single second to learn, to draw nearer, to grow in your righteousness. And you will be so abundantly blessed. Remember that. And get back your Israeli identity.